Hello guys, it is Brittany here. Welcome back to my Color Guard YouTube channel. If you are watching this video, then that probably means that you're a first year or a new member to Color Guard and you're trying to learn more about this fabulous activity. If that is the case, I highly recommend you watch the singles video and the pole flip video that comes before this in this playlist, and plus all those other basics, because if you don't have those handled, this will be about 1,000 times harder than it needs to be. So master those skills first, then come here. If you already did that, good on you, and we're going to get started. So today we are going to be learning how to do single and a halves and doubles. Single and a halves and doubles are basically the next step up and the harder version of a single basically. They go higher, and as their names say, like a single did 1 rotation, single and a half, your flag will do 1.5 rotations, a double, your flag will do 2 full rotations. So I'm going to show you the differences between each one of those tosses and also how to do them. So let's get started there. First things first, like I said in my singles video, which you should have watched already, your right hand should be about 1/2 foot into the silk already, or a dollar bill, as I say. Then your left hand should be splitting your tapes. If you don't have tapes, it's just splitting the end half of your pole. Try to find as close to the middle as you possibly can. Then our third checkpoint is having our flag at a nice tight seatbelt angle, which means your left hand is inside your left shoulder and your right hand should be right by your right hip, and your flag should kind of cut in between those 2 points. Once you have that, now we got to move on to the next part. So once you've gone through your checkpoint of where your hands are, make sure your arms are boxed out nice and sharp, that your flag's at a seatbelt angle, we can move on to the actual toss. Just like you did on your single, your left hand needs to push all the way down and actually touch your thigh. I tell some students, just so they have enough power to get your flag around, you should almost feel like you're slapping your thigh, so that way you have enough force to actually get this bad boy up in the air. Just like I said on your singles video as well, your flag needs to be released at an upper right angle, upper 45 as I should say, and it should always be, of course, in your toaster. That's with all tosses that we do. So in case you guys forgot, your flag should always be on your 10, 11, 12, and 22, 23, and 24 plane, which are the planes that come straight out of my hips basically and are always in my toaster. So that's the plane we toss on, not tilted. Just so you know. Before, with a single, we release about a 90-degree angle from my body. So not super high, pretty close, so that way our single only rotates once. The only difference between your single and your single and a half is you're going to go from a 45-degree angle to a little bit higher. I always use as a reference kind of like your wrist towards your forehead, almost. So kind of like, this range on your face. If you need somewhere to match, think about instead of going 90 degrees, which is about, my wrist is even with like this area of my face. Now when I raise it up a little bit more, kind of like I'm trying to ask the teacher a question in class, pick on me, just like that. Not all the way up, because we're going to reserve that for our double. This needs to be just a little bit lower than that. So now that we've put all of those puzzle pieces together, we can actually do the toss. So for a single and a half, your toss will rotate once around, and then we'll keep going, and it'll stop vertically, so flag up. My left hand is going to catch in the flag, I roughly say about halfway, and your right hand will catch on your tab. So like this, palm facing towards your flag, palm facing towards your flag. Okay, so now we know what our hands are doing before, during, and after. We can actually do the toss. I'll give you an example. And 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3. So if you're comfortable with your single and a half, now we can move on to our double. I'm going to teach you 2 different ways, just like I teach my students. One will be your standard starting at my seatbelt angle, left hand splitting your tapes, right hand a dollar bill into the silk, nice and tight to our body, push and lift. The only difference here between what we did from a single to a single and a half and a double, as you will notice, we have the same starting point, your hands are the same before and sometimes after, depending. But the most important thing that changes is your right arm. Okay? If this is our steering wheel, I'm going to 3 different destinations. My single's down here, my single and a half's here. My double is going to be what we call a full soft. So if my straight arm's all the way here, I want to be a little bit below that. So now a soft little bend in my elbow, aka a full soft. Okay, so that's our difference. Single, single and a half, double. Our buddy, the gas pedal right here, is going to do his same job that he's been doing with the past 2 tosses. The only thing that changes is where we're going. Okay, so first things first, want to make sure that we have our checklist. Hands are in the right place. We push lift, now to our full soft position, making sure we're still releasing at an upper 45 position, this time with our arms a little bit higher. Once you've dinged all those little boxes, now we can do a double. So I'll give you an example right now. 5 and 6 and 5, 6, 7, 8, push lift. One thing that I will say for each and every kind of vertical toss you do, which will, fall into the realm of singles, single and a half, and doubles, among other tosses, is 2 of my most important things that I will say nonstop till the day I stop teaching color guard, because it's 2 things people struggle with the most. Well, I'll make it 3. First thing is whatever position you start out in, your feet have to stay there. You can't have, a nice solid second position, release, and then you're like, dancing underneath your flag. No. That's going to make it 1,000 times harder than it needs to be to catch your flag, so we don't want to do that. First rule, always keep your feet planted. Second thing is the second you release your flag, your hands stay there. Okay? If I'm releasing a single, my arms are here, single and a half or double, my arms have to stay this way until they move to get my catch. So I want to hold 2, catch 3, or hold 2, catch 3. Depending on whatever toss you're doing, you always hold your free arms, which are what these are called, because your arms are free to move around, except you shouldn't. So keep your arms there always. Free arms stay after you release. Our third, kind of thing to make sure our tosses are solid as they can be is whenever you are tossing anything, this goes for something as small as pull flips or pop tosses all the way to doubles, you have to make sure you catch 2 hands at one time. That is literally my most important thing I ever teach in color guard. It's my #1 pet peeve when it doesn't happen too, is you have to catch with 2 hands at the same time. Kind of like thinking if you want a nice strong clap, you can't clap with your hands at 2 different times. Okay, notice how I had to do them together. So if I want a solid clap, 2 hands, 1 time. This doesn't work. I'm moving at 2 separate times. So that means, let's say just for example on a pull flip, if I'm tossing it, my hands release at the same time and they're going to catch at the exact same time. Okay, even though that was a little bit over. You want to make sure that you don't go like this. Notice how weak that looked? Any color guard instructor is not going to approve of that. So you want to make sure 2 hands, 1 time. That applies to any toss you do, all the way from the highest down to the lowest. Your hands move together. They're best friends. They do everything together. Make sure that it stays all the way into your tosses. That being said, let's move on. All right, so the last thing we're going to learn is how to do our double an alternative way. This way is slightly easier for some people. If you don't have the upper arm strength just yet because you're just starting out, and you can't get your double quite yet just because of the amount of strength it demands from you, we have an alternative. So we're going to go over that. So for I can't talk today. For our alternative way of tossing, we're going to have our left hand palm down to the ground, splitting here. We're going to have our right hand still a dollar bill into the sink, but instead of being in front of the flag, which is closest to me, I'm going to go like this. So notice my arm's going to come around the front of my flag, so my fingers and my arm are in front of my silk now on the opposite side. So this way we're going to start at my collarbones. If you don't know what those are, they're about right here at the bottom of your neck. We're going to do a cone. Yeah, remember those? Yeah, we're bringing it back. We're going to do a cone. So we're going to hit this position that we did before. We're going to come around and then lift and release. Basically what that does, if you make that cone blend into your double, it gives you a huge amount of momentum and it makes that toss 1,000 times easier. If you don't know what momentum is, it's a sciencey thing that basically means you're going to start out fast and you're going to get even faster and life will be easier. Simplest way I can explain that. So I'll give you an example right now of how to do this double with a cone. And 5 and 6 and 5, 6, cone 7, 8, toss 1, 2, 3. Alrighty, so that's all I for you guys today. It's a lot of information, so please take your time to kind of digest it and run through it. I kind of give a little bit of information throughout this video, so I'm going to kind of quickly recap that. If you don't mind, if you want to, you can just also rewind throughout this video. Most important thing before anything else, even when it's a single, half, or double, if you do not have the step that goes before it, do not move on to the next step. If you don't have a single and it's not solid, don't go on to a single and a half to double, same thing. If you are comfortable, then obviously please move on, please do so, please progress. And of course, as I will always say, and it's my most important thing, 2 hands at one time, 2 hands one time, always. Implement that into your brain. Even if you're like 90 years old, I still want you to remember 2 hands at one time. Keep that in your brain, lock it in, don't ever forget, okay? That just means whenever we release any toss, whether it's on a flag, rifle, or saber, whatever, both of your hands have to catch at the same time together to make your catch as solid as it can be. That's all I got. That's my nice little recap for today. Remember, questions, comments, concerns in the comment section down below. I love to see your guys' videos of your progress, so please send those in. But if not, then that's all I got for you today. Bye!